The board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Balmer. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sanye. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Present.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Present.
Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sanye. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderwoman Boyd. 10 present, you have quorum.
A quorum being present, we will be led in an opening reflection by Beth Elders, Executive Director of the American Red Cross of Greater St. Louis.
Good morning, all. Thank you so much for the introduction. As she shared, my name is Beth Elders. I am the Executive Director of the American Red Cross here in Greater St. Louis. And it is indeed an honor to be invited to speak to you all this morning about World Blood Donor Day. World Blood Donor Day is recognized each year on June 14th. This day is meant to raise awareness of the need for a safe and stable blood supply, and also to recognize volunteer blood donors and their life-saving role in patient care. The American Red Cross is the nonprofit that supplies the majority of our St. Louis blood supply and supplies 40% of our nation's blood supply. And we're celebrating World Blood Donor Day today by saying thank you to all of our past and our future blood and platelet donors, especially as we enter into the summer months. Blood donations typically decline in late spring and early summer, especially during holiday weeks like Memorial Day and Independence Day. But the need for blood and platelet transfusions doesn't take a summer break. With no substitution for blood, and there's no way to manufacture it, volunteer donors are the only source of blood products for patients with sickle cell disease, car accident victims, and parents experiencing difficult childbirth. Only 3 out of 100 people in the U.S. actually give blood, making blood donors a pretty special and a pretty generous crowd of people. The Red Cross encourages everyone who may be eligible to join this life-saving group to roll up your sleeves and to donate blood at some time this summer. In 2023, the American Red Cross in Greater St. Louis collected over 4,000 units of blood in almost 200 blood drives in St. Louis City alone, thanks to our partnerships with our city businesses, churches, schools, and other community organizations. And just this week, in fact, ending just last night, our annual St. Louis Cardinals blood drive collected over 1,100 units of blood, including a new location this year taking place at Busch Stadium. All of our blood types are needed on an ongoing basis, and we're in special need of donations from those of African and Hispanic descent. The antigens in African American and Hispanic blood donors are essential in the treatment of those with sickle cell disease, a disease which impacts predominantly our Black and brown community members, and in which the primary treatment is blood transfusions. And don't worry, you don't need to know your blood type in order to make that life-saving donation. You can simply schedule a blood appointment by going to our blood donor app or giving us a call at 1-800-RED-CROSS or visiting redcrossblood.org. I thank you again to President Green. Thank you to all of our Board of Aldermen and our broader St. Louis community for your support of the life-saving mission of the American Red Cross on this World Blood Donor Day. And please, for all of you, don't hesitate to reach out to me if I can answer any questions or provide any additional information about your American Red Cross. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
We will dispense with line item 4, any introduction of honored guests. Alderwoman from the 10th.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, before I go into my honored guests, I would like to ask on behalf of people that reached out, most especially Ms. Minkowski, who I know is watching today, that we have a silence for one of our beloved former co-workers, Mr. Frederick Steffen.
We could please stand and bow our heads for a moment of silence.
Thank you so much, and please follow for upcoming arrangements in his honor. So I would like to have as my honor guests all of the fathers in my earshot, not just the fathers on this floor, but the fathers listening, the father figures. As we come up on Father's Day, Lord knows we need fathers. Lord knows I need my daddy, so I'm going to call him by name. Wish you a happy Father's Day and have as my honor guest my daddy, Joseph Clark Jr., my father in love, Rodney Hubbard Sr., my husband, Rodney Hubbard, and my new son, because I'm about to be an older granny, Bobby. Happy Father's Day to you for your first Father's Day, Bobby. I love you all. We need you. Enjoy your day.
Alderwoman from the 11th.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. I would like to wish everyone here, and when I say everyone, you know, when I think of Father's Day as well as Mother's Day, and I think I said this when we had Mother's Day, every gentleman here should have a Father's Day card. Now, I know that some of you have not physically produced a child, maybe yet, but that is not the measure of what a father is and the impact that fathers have on us as a society. And so for that, you know, if you've been a mentor, a teacher, a tutor, a coach, an uncle, you know, all of those things are qualifying. And for that, I say to you, Happy Father's Day. Additionally, I want to say Happy Father's Day to my boyfriend of 40 years, James Keys, who celebrated his birthday on June the 10th. I want to also have as one of my honored guests, Monique Reese, who lives in the 11th Ward. She is such an amazing cheerleader, and I'm so happy to have that spirit in the 11th Ward. Additionally, I would like to have Dr. Marlene Davis, who is celebrating a birthday today, former Alderwoman of the 19th Ward. So as I go on, June 14th is the birthday of the U.S. Army. And so past and present service members, we thank you for your service and happy birthday to the U.S. Army. Today is National Bourbon Day. Each of you should have a little something on your desk. No drinking on the job. But I saw this online yesterday and I was like, wow. So 8 o'clock last night, I left my house and I ran and got these little bottles of bourbon thinking of you all. So don't say I don't think about you. And so then I had to sit down and, you know, I had to personalize, put my little label on it. But no drinking on the job. Once again, don't drink in your car. But celebrate Bourbon Day. And I don't know, and I should have looked this up to see if we have any bourbon manufacturers here in Missouri. I'm sure we probably do. So cheers to them as well. Madam President, if I may have a moment of silence for Miss Georgia. Miss Georgia was a Council Towers resident who had just assisted with an Alzheimer's fundraiser and went to the parking lot and expired there.
If we could please stand and bow our heads for another moment of silence.
Thank you so much. Please enjoy your father's. Oh, and you know who I forgot to mention? Is all of those mothers, like my mother, who ended up being mother and father. I celebrate you every day. Some people say it's hard to be a stay-at-home mom, but to me, that is nothing compared to having to go to work every day, sometimes 2 jobs like my mother worked, 2 jobs to maintain a quality of life and still have to come home, cook, clean, discipline, all of that stuff. So to every woman doing double duty, this is your Father's Day too. Happy Father's Day.
Alderwoman from Alderwoman from the 12th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I have a couple of special guests. The first one would be one that is well known in the civil rights community around the city of St. Louis. It's a young lady by the name of Martha West. Martha West is in her 90s. She's recently taken ill. Martha was not one of my supporters for many, many years because I ran against the Roberts family. But for the last few years, she has been one of my ardent supporters, and she adopted Sterling Miller. You talk about fathers. She is sick, and her house is having to be rehabbed to let her come back home. And she called up Mr. Miller, my husband, and said, okay, I need you to get over here and take care and make sure that everybody's doing everything right. And that's what he's doing. He's been doing that very quietly because he does rehab with our seniors in our community. A lot of times seniors have people who are take advantage of them. And so he will go and meet with the contractors with them and make sure everything is going right. So I wanted to just say to Martha that we got this taken care of. Mr. Miller's taking care of you and the other seniors in our community. I want to wish Mr. Miller happy Father's Day. He's not a father, but takes care of a lot of people in our community. Has lived in the Kingsway East neighborhood, was born there, and has been there for 69 years. And cares about his community. And that's why I live there, because when I met him in college, that's what he talked about. Second of all, I want to wish Joanne Williams, who is a member of Forest Park board and was a carpenter. Today is her happy 29th birthday again. So I want to wish her a happy birthday, and she's my special guest. And last of all, I want to give tribute to Miss Bernice Trice, who was 102 or 103, who just recently passed, and I was going to ask for a moment of silence because up until the day that she passed, she lived in the 4900 block of Highland, and she was active and would be on that phone in a minute if something needed to be done. And I'd ask for a moment of silence because we lost a true trooper in Mrs. Bernice Trice.
We could please stand and bow our heads for a moment of silence. Alderwoman from the 10th.
I'm sorry, Madam President, members of the board. How could I have forgotten my legislative assistant, Miss Cynthia Watson, also celebrated her birthday this week. So she is our honored guest.
Any further introduction of honored guests? Any further introduction of honored guests? Seeing none, Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the approval of the minutes from Friday, June 7th, 2020.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we approve the minutes from Friday, June 7th, 2024.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we approve the minutes from Friday, June 7th, 2020. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in A, B, and C of the agenda and has been placed in the Google Drive for your review. Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individual for appointment to the De Bolivar Special Business District. The appointment of Alex Correll Otto, who resides in the 10th Ward. I respectfully request your approval of this appointment. Sincerely, to Sharborough O. Jones, Mayor.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on Mayor Jones' appointments to the De Bolivar Place Special Business.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we approve Mayor Jones' appointments to the De Bolivar Place Special Business District.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we approve Mayor Jones' appointments to the De Bolivar Place Special Business District. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individual to the Grove Community Improvement District. The appointment, I respectfully request your approval of this appointment. Sincerely, to Sharborough O. Jones, Mayor.
Alderman from the 9th, you are recognized on Mayor Jones' appointment to the Grove Community.
Thank you. I would like to move that we appoint Ms. Amelia Rogers to the Grove Community Improvement District.
Moved by the Alderman from the 9th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we approve Mayor Jones' appointment to the Grove Community Improvement District. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That's the extent of report of city officials.
Does anyone wish to take any bills or resolutions off of any of our informal calendars? Alderwoman from the 1st.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Please place Board Bill 31 as amended on the perfection consent calendar. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that.
So noted.
Does anyone wish to take any further bills or resolutions off of any of our informal calendars? Seeing none, first reading of board bills.
Board Bill 52, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard and Alderman Browning, an ordinance approving a petition to establish the Delmore Fountain Park Community Improvement District, establishing the Delmore Fountain Park Community Improvement District as a political subdivision of the state of Missouri, finding a public purpose for the establishment of the Delmore Fountain Park CID, making certain findings with respect thereto, authorizing certain other actions of city officials, approving appointment of the initial board of directors containing a severability and emergency clause. Board Bill 53, sponsored by Alderwoman Sanye, an ordinance establishing a four-way stop sites at various intersections in the 7th Ward to regulate all traffic traveling in all directions containing an emergency clause. That's the extent of first reading of board bills.
Reference to committee of board bills.
To the HUD Committee, Board Bill 52. To Public Infrastructure and Utilities Committee, Board Bill 53. That's the extent of reference to committee of board bills.
Second reading and report of standing committees.
The following board bills were reported out of Transportation and Commerce with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 47, sponsored by Alderman Cone and President Green, an ordinance recommended and approved by the Airport Commission, the Board of Public Service, the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, establishing and authorizing a public works and improvement program at St. Louis Lambert International Airport, providing for and consisting of capital improvement projects as more fully described in the attached Exhibit A, entitled Airport Use and Lease Agreement Third Amendment Project List, containing the severability and emergency clause. Board Bill 50, sponsored by Alderman Cone, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the establishment of an interim finance program to incur indebtedness with an aggregated principal amount not to exceed $650 million outstanding at any time to provide funds to finance and refinance airport improvement, pay capitalized interest, pay cost of issuance, and authorizing and directing the issuance of bonds to effect long-term financing to refinancing interim indebtedness, approving and authorizing the preparation, execution, delivery of necessary or appropriate documents and actions, repealing inconsistent prior ordinances containing a severability clause. The following board bill was reported out of HUD with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 37, sponsored by Alderwoman Keys, an ordinance approving the petition of owners of certain real property to establish a community improvement district, establishing the Grand Center East Community Improvement District, finding a public purpose of the establishment of the Grand Center East CID, containing a severability clause. The following board bills were reported out of Public Infrastructure with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 35, sponsored by Alderman Aldridge, pursuant to ordinance number 70333, as amended by ordinance number 71394, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic on certain blocks in the 14th Ward. Board Bill 38, sponsored by Alderman Aldridge, an ordinance to install stop signs within various locations within the 14th Ward. Board Bill 42, sponsored by Alderman Aldridge, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and the comptroller of the city of St. Louis to execute a temporary construction easement with certain terms and conditions with the Kokoski Ploker LLC to allow its equipment, workers, materials to be transferred through and placed upon certain property for the purpose of constructing and installing the St. Louis Metropolitan Sewer District Bissell Treatment Plant fluidized bed incineration over certain city-owned property with property is known and numbered as 61 Ferry Street in the city of St. Louis, Missouri, 63135, containing a severability and emergency clause. Board Bill 45, sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer, an ordinance making appropriation for the payment of operating expenses, capital expenses, including lease purchase agreements and debt service expenses of the Parking Division of the Treasurer's Office for fiscal year July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 in the sum of $20,436,391, including $2,151,310 for capital improvement containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 49, sponsored by Alderman Browning, an ordinance amending ordinance number 68807 to change the honorary designation of the 4400 block of Washington Boulevard from the Reverend James Brown Senior Boulevard to the honorary designation of Reverend James Brown Senior Avenue. The following board bill was reported out of public safety with the due pass recommendation. Board Bill 29, sponsored by Alderman Oldenburg and Alderwoman Keys, an ordinance pertaining to fingerprint-based background check requirement as a condition of employment or contract and regulating licensure as a watchman, private security officer, or courier within the city of St. Louis containing an emergency clause. That's the extent of second reading. Report of standing committees.
Report of special committees.
We have none.
Board bills for perfection consent.
Board Bill 24, sponsored by Alderman Cone. An ordinance recommended and approved by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the Director of Airports and the Comptroller of the City of St. Louis, owner and operator of the St. Louis Lambert International Airport, to enter into and execute the Third Amendments to the Airport Use and Lease Agreement with certain airlines, which was authorized by Ordinance Number 70273, approved May 25, 2016, Ordinance Number 71295, approved December 11, 2020, Ordinance Number 71589, approved December 16, 2022, containing a severability clause. Board Bill 31, as amended, sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Public Service authorizing the 2024 St. Louis Works and 50/50 Sidewalk Program citywide, providing for the construction, reconstruction of gutters, streets, driveways, spot curbs, sidewalks, alleys, traffic controls, beautification, street planning, resurfacing, related engineer adjustments listed herein, appropriating $5.2 million from the Street Improvement Fund containing a public work emergency clause. That's the extent of board bills for perfection consent calendar.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to adopt the board bills for the perfection consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adopt the board bills for perfection consent calendar.
Is there a second? It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 11th, that we adopt the board bills for the perfection consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Board bills for perfection.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 16B. Alderwoman from the 1st, you are recognized on the suspension of the rules for the purposes of moving Board Bill 31 as amended to the third reading and final passage of board bills on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move to suspend the rules to move Board Bill 31 as amended to the end of the third reading consent calendar. Can I get a second?
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 1st, seconded by the Alderman from the 11th, that we suspend the rules for the purposes of moving Board Bill 31 as amended to the third reading and final passage of board bills on the consent calendar. This is a non-debatable motion. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Aye. Alderman Oldenburg. Aye. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Balmer. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sanye.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Aye. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd. 14 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderwoman from the 1st. Please place Board Bill 31 as amended at the end of the third reading and final passage of Board Bills consent. Report of engrossment.
Board Bill 17, 27, 28, 39, 40, 34, and 31 as amended.
Third reading and final passage of Board Bills consent.
Board Bill 17, 27, 28, 39, and 40 and 31 as amended.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to adopt the third reading and final passage of Board Bills on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move that we adopt the third reading and final passage of Board Bill consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we adopt the Board Bills on the third reading and final passage of Board Bills on the consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Aye. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Sanye.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Aye. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd. 14 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderwoman from the 10th to third read and finally pass the aforementioned bills. Third reading and final passage of Board Bills.
Board Bill 34, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, repealing ordinance number 71822 in its entirety and amending ordinance number 71393, ordinance number 71494, ordinance number 71505, ordinance number 71554, ordinance number 71561, ordinance number 71591, ordinance number 71592, and ordinance number 71650 by reappropriating certain amounts specified herein, an aggregated amount of $819,393.64 for purposes with an emergency clause.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the third reading and final passage of Board Bill 34.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move that we third read and finally pass Board Bill 34.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 1st, that we third read and finally pass Board Bill 34. Alderwoman, you may proceed. Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 12th.
Madam President, members of the board, I rise in opposition and I request a roll call. I went into this last meeting, so I'll say it again. Many of these board bills that we are reappropriating money, there's a reason for it. They weren't really good board bills in the first place. We have one board bill, ordinance 71554, which is a board bill that I got up and spoke against when we were passing it, which would have put $1 million, it did put $1 million aside to transport people to the Illinois border to get abortions because of the things that were going on in Missouri. That was never going to be a good ordinance. We yet let money sit up there and not be used. It was passed back in 22 and now it's 24, 2 years later. We put it with other monies that could have been used. It was a mistake. It's the same thing with several of these board bills. But one of the board bills that was not a mistake, but that is being transferred, and that is ordinance, I'm sorry, one of the ordinances is ordinance 71494, which transferred $7.6 million to North St. Louis for their streets and traffic calming and things. Because we did that and we made that deal, because in doing research about how money was spent in the city, I came upon some facts that showed that of the bridges that have been done in the whole city, that only $2 or $3 million have been spent in North St. Louis, and the rest of it, 100 and some million, and I'll get the numbers because I'm going to come back with a resolution talking about this. is that they don't spend any money in North St. Louis. And this current administration talked about making some equity and being fair, but this is not fair. That money was put there as a sign of, let's make some fairness. We have not spent the kind of money we should have in the past. And so $7.6 million is a drop in the bucket. Because if you talk to people in different departments and you talk about, you go to CDA and you look at the block grant money, exorbitantly not spent the way it's supposed to, spent every place else, all the tax abatement and tax TIFs that people are against. For years I've sat up there, I sat on this floor and talked about the problems that we were spending it all in the Central Quarter, downtown, a little South St. Louis, not really the way it was supposed to be based on how we applied for it. So now what has happened is that 2 years ago, after we did this money, maybe a year and a half ago, Rich Bradley came to one of the streets meeting, and in the street department, we asked him, why wasn't this money being spent? Ordinance 71554, and he said, the money wasn't spent in 71494. Said he was holding on to it until the mayor did some great citywide traffic calming. That's the same traffic calming I heard about when I passed in 2021-22 the speed hump ordinance, in which some people said it should have been vetoed, the president famously, because the mayor was coming with some kind of citywide traffic calming. That has never happened. Some pavement happened, but not citywide traffic calming. And so we famously did not listen to the advice of the president, and the mayor at the last minute did not veto it. And it always gladdens me every time I see somebody passing a street hump bill. I'm gladdened because if I did not have the foresight to rewrite that bill, they would have taken a lot of money from our ward capital to give us a study if we needed speed humps, which we did not. And since we don't have enough police, a lot of us, the only way that we are able to patrol our streets or to quiet down the speeding is with speed humps. And so now we took some money just to be kind of not even equal, to have some kind of equity, and to have the mayor's administration and the board of BPS sit on that money and then put it in with the rest of these ARPA funds, which they were not good bills, a lot of them anyway, is ridiculous. That's just a way to take our money. And by the way, I know there was another companion bill that went to this. So I was put on alert when I saw the companion bill given to somebody else and passed at another time, as though this was planned. This was planned. And you can't get away with this. And so I'm going to expose it. I'm going to expose it on this floor. I'm going to put it in writing. We're going to have a resolution about it. We're going to continue to talk about the inequities of funding in North St. Louis. And every day I have to listen to people asking me, but the mayor says she ran on, she was going to make it somewhat equal to North St. Louis, and she was going to do this. Where's the money? Where's the money? Where's the money? When we took that $7.6 million and moved it to North St. Louis, people were joyous. They thought that they were going to finally see something. In fact, they did not. There was no pavement. People have bills for their tires and their hubcaps and their wheels. All of that is ridiculous. And it's not just in North St. Louis. You drive on Lindo or Olive, and you think you fell off the face of the earth except for right in front of the stadium. It is ridiculous. Now, I do know where you did pave, and I know that because when you've been here for 30-something years, it's hard to hide things. So people tend to give me things in my inbox or drop it off and say, you need to know this, Alderwoman Tyus. So you didn't keep your word, Madam Mayor, and you need to veto this bill or line item this bill because there's no reason for you to be taking this money. It wasn't that it couldn't be spent, is that you purposefully let someone who was a director take the money and put someplace else. And that is a mistake. And you should not be doing it. I am opposed to it. It did not need to be done. And I would never vote for money that is taken from my community when we are so poorly financed in any portion of whatever you do from ward capital to 50/50 sidewalk to anything. It is a not fair assessment of or appropriations of what should be done in North St. Louis, and we know that. And so there were, just to make you understand the money you're taking away. We had money to address the horrible issue on Natural Bridge when they put that ugly median with concrete on it without talking to the people. We had money to address issues in Kings Highway for traffic calming, and we're also for curbs. We had money for pavement, traffic calming on Riverview, I-70 to the circle. I heard the alderman from the 13th Ward ask so many times, how can you tell me this is shovel ready and never get it done? We had money to address things on West Florissant. We had money to address things on Goodfellow. We had money for sprinkle repair. All of that is being taken away as some kind of emergency. Only what would have happened if we would have let it get done? It would have been spent. Where would we have gotten that money from? Now, I would suggest that we still have all kinds of money sitting around that we're not using, and that this is purposeful to take that money away. And whoever thought this up ought to be ashamed of themselves. And I would never, ever vote for it. And I want to make sure that I make a record that this was not something that just sat around because it couldn't be done. This was something that was purposefully held. It is on tape. It's in a street committee hearing. There's a date. People actually, after I talked about it, went and pulled it down themselves and saw it themselves. And so they know what is being done to North St. Louis. And it's pathetic. Again, I rise in opposition to this. This should not be part of any kind of transfer of money. And the mayor and her administration ought to be ashamed of themselves.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized to close.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I renew my motion.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 1st, that we third read and finally pass Board Bill 34. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Aye. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Balmer. Alderwoman Velazquez. Aye. Alderwoman Sanye. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Aye. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Aye.
Alderwoman Sanye.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd. 12 aye votes, 1 no vote, and 1 voted present.
By your vote, you've sustained the motion from the Alderwoman from the 10th to third read and finally pass Board Bill 34. Report if finally passed and signed by the President.
Board Bill 17, 27, 28, 39, 40, 31 as amended, and Board Bill 34.
All other business being suspended, the President shall in open session affix her signature hereto to the end that these may become law. First reading resolutions in reference to committees.
We have none.
Second reading resolutions, committee reports, and adoptions.
Report from the Public Safety Committee, mayoral appointees to the Civilian Oversight Board. Bradley Ortega, Christine Brooks, Keith Rose, Harrison Sand, Stephen Rovack, Sierra Simrel, Jennifer Whitaker, David Jackson Jr., and Derek Kilgore.
Aldermen from the 4th, you are recognized on Mayor Jones' appointments to the Civilian Oversight Board.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. At the request of the administration, we're going to hold the appointments to the Civilian Oversight Board at this time.
Not a problem. Madam Clerk, please make note of that.
So noted. Mayoral appointees to the Detention Facilities Oversight Board, Thomas Lawson and James Dom Jr.
Aldermen from the 4th, you are recognized on Mayor Jones' appointments to the Detention Facilities Oversight Board.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we approve the appointments of Thomas Lawson and James Don Jr. to the Detention Facilities Oversight Board.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 4th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we approve Mayor Jones' appointments to the Detention Facilities Oversight Board. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That's the extent of second reading resolutions, committee reports, and adoption.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to adopt the courtesy resolution consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adopt the courtesy resolutions consent calendar.
Is there a second? It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman for the 14th, to adopt the courtesy resolution. No brawls on the board floor, please. That we adopt the courtesy resolution consent calendar. Any discussion? Alderwoman from the 10th.
May I please be added as a co-sponsor to Resolution 62 and 63?
Madam Clerk, please make note of that.
So noted.
And Madam Clerk, if you could also add me to 63 as well.
Noted.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Miscellaneous and unfinished business.
We have none.
Announcements.
Monday, June 17, 2024, Special Committee on Reducing Red Tape in the Kennedy Room at 3 p.m. Tuesday, June 18th, HUDs in the Kennedy Room at 11 a.m., Legislation and Rules via webinar at 2 p.m., Public Infrastructure in the Kennedy Room at 3:30 p.m. Wednesday, June 19th, the office will be closed in honor of Juneteenth holiday. Thursday, June 20th, 2024, Health and Human Development via webinar at 9 a.m. Friday, June 21st, 2024, full board meeting in the chambers at 10 a.m. That's the extent of the announcements.
Also like to make note that at Monday at 10 a.m. there is a budget, or 10:30 a.m. a budget and public employees meeting.
So noted.
Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 11th.
Thank you, Madam President. I was trying to make sure I got up before Vollmer did. So let's see here. So the father-son fishing in Hyde Park event will happen on June 21st and 22nd. Boys ages 5 to 14 are eligible to participate, and they can reach out to Communities First, myself, or Alderman Rasheen Aldridge about that program. On the 21st, they will have the Hyde Park Family Fun Day. Again, this is free, open to the public. Thank you. They're paying attention to my tennis shoes that has the city emblem on them. I have them in several colors. I walk on St. Louis. Thank you. So that's a Laura Keys original, I just want you to know. And let's see. Oh, one of our own, Tracy had a birthday.
Yeah.
And I don't think I saw her today, so happy birthday, Tracy.
Alderwoman from the 12th.
Madam President, members of the board, as we have just announced, Juneteenth is Wednesday. We will be closed, but one of the original Juneteenth celebrations will be held in the 12th Ward on Saturday, June 15th, from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. the 4000 block of Maffett Avenue. Brother Penny is one of the people that lives in the ward who stayed there and fought. This is the Greaterville neighborhood. And one of the things I talked to him at length about was the help he had from our clerk, Terry Kennedy, in getting this thing started 18 years ago, that he did all kind of help to make sure this happened. And I can remember when I first came to the board, us talking about Juneteenth, and who would know all these many years later that now not only are we celebrating it, but the banks and everything else has become a national holiday. But in the city of St. Louis, I want to thank the former alderman of the 18th Ward for all his work he did in helping the Juneteenth celebration happen. And this is the 18th year, and I invite all to come out. It's a wonderful celebration. In all the 18 years, they like to say a lot of negative things. There's never been any problems. It's a family spirit. It's food. It's conversation, books. All kind of vendors are there. There's a lot of good music, African dancing, something you would enjoy if you enjoy that type of thing. And I invite you to please participate. I was so proud last year to be a part, not only as just attending, but also as the alderperson of that particular ward, 12th Ward. Thank you so much.
Need further announcements? Alderwoman from the 10th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I would like to announce on Tuesday during our HUD's meeting at 11 a.m. there will be a SLOOP presentation and update on the strategic land use plan from the Planning Commission, and public comment will be taken. And also, in line with the other Juneteenth events, we have one that's in Fountain Park with the Fountain Park community. It's a 3-day event starting tonight from 4 to 6, tomorrow. Service at 12:30, and then ongoing activities for the entire family all day. And then Sunday with service at Centennial Christian Church under the leadership of Reverend Dr. Derek L. Perkins. And also in the 10th Ward on Delmar is the Delmar Loop Juneteenth celebration at the corner of Hamilton and Delmar, along with some others mixed in along the way. So please intentionally find your space this year to acknowledge and celebrate Juneteenth. Thank you.
Alderwoman from the 7th.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I would like to announce first that Graveway Park is resuming our yoga in the park. And so beginning tomorrow, you can go to Graveway Park and there will be yoga. Thank you to Ms. Cassidy for facilitating it this weekend, and to all of the folks who have offered their time to donate, and it is free, so you can show up there. And then I also wanted to announce there is an organization called called Productive Pathways of the Midwest, and they are going to be holding smart recovery meetings in the community at 2801 Magnolia. They have a series of days starting on June 16th, but I know that there are folks who suffer with addiction in our community, particularly and so I just wanted to announce that too. Feel free to shoot me an email if you're interested, or a family member or friend. It's not specific to any specific kind of addiction, but any addiction that is being struggling with. There are these recovery meetings and eventually some courses that will be offered. And then as usual, I also wanted to announce, also at the Rita Forest Center, there is a food share program that will be going on this Sunday. So feel free to stop by. Again, community members are trying to do that as often as possible, because we know that as we get closer to the summer, a lot of families and kids get their meals from school and don't have that anymore. And then also to my colleagues, again, I am working on these, on the shelter bill, both a plaid petition bill and a zoning bill, and welcome conversation, welcome coming into any community space you want to. And there are drafts available. And so I look forward to continuing those conversations. Thank you.
Alderman from the 2nd.
Thank you, Madam President. Quick announcement. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., Little Bevo Pride Market will be taking place in the 4700 block of Morgan Ford. Various vendors, a heck of a lot of fellowship and the celebration of Pride Month. Please stop down, 4700 block of Morgan Ford. Join Alderwoman Schweitzer and myself. We will be there 10 a.m. Thank you very much.
Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 6th.
Great, thank you. Just want to announce a couple things happening on South Grand this week and weekend. On tomorrow, Saturday, there'll be the Makers Market at Ritz Park from noon to 5 p.m. There's also the Eco Crew is cleaning up around Hartford Street and weeding and watering. So if you want something to do, that is available. And then on Thursday, next Thursday, June 20th, from 5 to 9 p.m., the South Grand Dine-Around will be around. So you can, for a reduced price, you can get tickets and eat at 20 of the restaurants. And get your fill of great food. Thank you.
Alderwoman from the 11th.
Thank you once again, Madam President. Juneteenth celebration, Saturday, Harris Stowe, and I'm looking to see what time they begin, but there are many Juneteenth celebrations throughout the city, and as the older lady from the 10th Ward said, please be intentional about getting to one of those celebratory events. Also, 1717 Coleman Street, there will be a Juneteenth event. In the 11th Ward, there is a 14-year-old boy, and everybody who knows me knows that I love kid entrepreneurs because I was a kid entrepreneur. Our newest entrepreneur, and this is our first boy, we have a snow cone, a young lady who does snow cones. We have a 8-year-old who has a lemonade stand. And when they decide that they want to go into business, I always have professional signage done for them. And so Jamari Q, and he calls his barbecue business Mara Q. We provided him, when he first started, with professional signage. And he has set up shop on West Florissant right before you get to Athlone Avenue. This 14-year-old is in pursuit of his own food truck. And we are just so excited to support him as we have supported our other kid entrepreneurs. When we think of all of the things that kids could be out doing and things that we actually see them out doing, this young man has a dream. And so I encourage you this weekend from 1 to 8 p.m., please get on the road, be intentional. Go on West Florissant just before Athlone Avenue, right across from O'Fallon Park. It's a nice wide street. Park your car, come and buy something from this young man to move him closer to getting his food truck. Now, I highly recommend the pulled pork nachos. So that is my recommendation, but everything is good. We are so proud of Jamari, and we support him wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Wednesday, a lot of festivities going on. Some in the 14th Ward that'll be happening. At 10 a.m. will be the second annual Juneteenth celebration at the courts right across the street at 10 North Tucker Street. Between 12 and 8 p.m. at the House of Soul at 1204 Washington. They'll be also having a Juneteenth celebration. And at 1 p.m., right outside the Griot Museum, Mr. Green in the 14th Ward has been putting on several Juneteenth events for the last past years. And instead of it being in Fairground Park this year at 1 p.m., it'll be right outside the Griot Museum. All are welcome, and hope people can come out to have a good time. Thank you.
Any further announcements? Seeing none, Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to excuse.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we excuse the Alderwoman from the 13th for necessary absence.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we excuse the Alderwoman from the 13th for necessary absence. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adjourn until Friday, June 21st, 2024, in the Board of Aldermen chamber.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adjourn until Friday, June 21st, 2024, in the Board of Aldermen chambers. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.